Okay.
So that's also some feature that is independent, right?
Okay, Rambam. We're in the laws of testimony, chapter 14, witnesses and testimony. Whenever a witness is disqualified from testifying on behalf of a colleague because he is married to the witness's relative, if that relative's wife dies, even if she left him sons, he is considered to have been released from any connection and is acceptable as a witness. So, ooh la la.
It would be like colleague.
Oh boy. I don't think we can learn like this online. Can you, Akai, can you hear?
Yes, I can hear and I can see
Yeah?
the screen.
This is not
Yes.
disturbing the drilling?
No.
No, okay.
Not
Maybe
here.
just in my head.
Must be drilling pretty deep for that one.
Huh?
I know what security stuff that they installed there, it seems pretty intense.
Yeah. So, let me get my props. Witness, right? A witness to something, whatever, a crime, right? A theft, whatever it is, right? Or to a loan, business transaction, right? And disqualified from testifying on behalf of a colleague, of another person. Why? Because he's married to the witness's relative. So he can't testify for this person because he's married
Okay,
to a relative of his,
wait, because he's married to the,
to a relative of
you
his,
can't testify against someone if you're married,
for or against.
if you're married to that person's relative.
Yeah, we learned it yesterday, the parameters, and how far down it goes, how many
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
generations, but right, let's say in the relative, right, a relative you can't testify again, for or against, either or, right?
Conflict of interest. Sure.
Yeah. Now, if the relative's wife, right, in other words, he's not related to him,
Yeah,
he's related to his wife.
okay, so it's like.
Now, witness is related to the wife, right?
Okay.
So that's what makes him no longer, because husband and wife are considered like the same,
Yeah,
right? So now he has to give testimony for his colleague.
yeah,
His wife died,
yeah.
right? So his whole reason why he can't, he's disqualified, is because of the wife, but she died. Now, even if she left sons, he's released from any connection and he's acceptable as a witness. Give me a moment. Hi. Hi. Sorry to interrupt. No problem. This is Leon out of shower. Oh, can I ask you something about the alarm system? What, when I had mine and stuff, they told me to put all the wires, all wires. It's not a home alarm system. No, I thought that. I don't know. So, Zeigersund. Okay. So is that a little clearer now?
Yes. But if the wife dies, even if there's like kids from that marriage, he
He's
then
released. He's no longer, because his connection is not through the children, but through her. That's why he became disqualified.
Okay.
Okay, let's go into the next. I think is going to continue with this thought. Okay. When a person knew of evidence concerning another person before that person became his son-in-law, right? Married his daughter,
daughter.
right? And then he became a son-in-law. The father-in-law is not acceptable as a witness.
Okay.
The same law applies if the person was in control of his senses and then became deaf mute, was able to see and then became blind. Even though he is aware of the measure of the land concerning which he testifies and can define its boundaries, let's say, about theft of property,
Yeah.
right? Or was intellectually and emotionally sound and then lost the control of his faculties.
So he can't.
He can't. Even though when he was a witness to it, he could. Now that he has lost that the capability, he can't. Okay. I'm not certain.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me, but
I'm not. Yeah, it doesn't explain. I don't know. I'm not certain the ration. Maybe it'll explain. Let's continue. Okay. If by contrast a person knew of evidence concerning another person before that person became his son-in-law, he became his son-in-law, and then the father-in-law's daughter died, right? The father is acceptable. As he knew the evidence, he got married to his daughter, right?
his daughter died.
His daughter died. Now he could.
The same principle as the other one.
Huh?
It's the same principle as the first one.
Right.
He's only connected to him through the marriage.
Through the marriage, right. By the way, we learned this previously in Rambam. These laws about witnesses are what's called exeris hakosov. In other words, like you said, doesn't make sense. It's not based on rationality, even though all mitzvahs are not the bases of Torah verses and Torah commands, right? But this is even more. Sometimes we say, that there's a law and there's a rationality to a law, and sometimes it's not. It's based on
Faith.
I mean, no, it's based on what's called faith is how we deal with it, shall we say? But it's called gzerus hakosov halachically, right? In other words, if there's a rational parameter to something, so then that becomes part of the halacha, right? But if it's not a rational parameter to it, and it's what's called gzerus hakosov, a decree of the verse, so then that's what it is. So in other words, it's the rationality is not a part of the halachic makeup of the law.
It's still in halacha, but it's just like a decree of sorts.
No, it's not in halacha.
It's
No,
not in halacha.
No, the rationality is not part of the halacha.
I get that, but is the law itself in the law
Well,
itself?
The law is a law. Obviously, the law is part of the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's just no rational basis to it.
So the law of witnesses is not based on rationality. In other words, who is permitted to give testimony or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though you might say, oh, you are,
you're still connected.
You're connected to that person, so therefore you have some kind of
relationship.
You have some skin in the game, but it's not based on that rationality, right?
Yeah.
The verse says that's what it is. So therefore, because then it's based on then you would have to check to see what's the relationship between, sometimes mother-in-law and daughter-in-law could be hating each other. The Talmud says actually they usually do, right? So
Didn't know that.
huh?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she took away her son, right? Took away the mother's son,
Yeah,
right?
it's funny it says that.
Huh?
I find that really funny. It says that in the Talmud. You always hear that like, oh, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, but the fact it's actually in the Talmud, really.
Yeah, there's a truth to it. So in any case, so that's why, you could say, well, I mean, what if he loves his son-in-law even though his daughter passed away,
Mhm.
right? Halachically, they're not related anymore,
Yeah.
right? That doesn't mean that it can be a love between them, and that, I mean, she passed away and left him 4 children that he's taking care of, his grandchildren, right? So he is related through the grandchildren, but not halachically by witness.
Yeah.
There's a relationship, but we're talking about now for testimony.
Mhm.
So well, maybe he loves he loves them. Why? After all, he's the father of his grandchildren.
Yeah.
No,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. So that's what it means, not based on rationality.
Just it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So now she died. The father is acceptable. Similar laws applies if a person was in control of his senses, became deaf mute, and then regained control of his senses, was intellectually and emotionally sound, lost control of his faculties, and then regained control of them. Or he was able to see, then blind, and then regained his sight.
Then he can testify.
Then he can testify. The general principle is, whenever a person is an acceptable witness in the initial and final stages, he is acceptable, even though in the interim he has not he was not acceptable as a witness. If, however, initially he is unacceptable, even though ultimately he would be acceptable, he's disqualified.
Yeah.
Right. Therefore, when a person is aware of evidence as a child, it is of no consequence for him to testify with regard to when he attains maturity. Why? Because he was unacceptable as a child.
At the beginnings, then it's not at the end.
Exactly.
Even if the end he is, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Okay. 3. There are matters concerning which we rely on the testimony which a person gives after he attains maturity.
So there's some exceptions.
With regard to the events he observed when he was a child. The rationale is that these are matters of rabbinical origin.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It's a rabbinical issue, so therefore
There's
more
more
lenient.
leniency.
Right. The matters are as follows. The person's word is accepted when he states that this is a signature of my father, my teacher, or my brother. The rationale is the validation of legal documents is a rabbinic in a requirement. It's not biblical. So therefore, that's okay.
Child.
Right.
That is an adult. Yeah.
Right. So what's important over here, because let me explain. What biblical law is radical in the sense that it's very cut and dry, very black and white. This is it's exeris hakasu. It's based on the decree of the verse. So the decree of the verse will be absolute. What's part of it? What's not part of it? Right? What's part of the principle? What's not part of the principle? There's a rational or not rational. Doesn't matter. Yeah. This is what the verse is saying, and therefore this is how the biblical law would be. Rabbinic law is always based because it's based on humans. It's not divine. It's divine law, but it's not based on divine God's wisdom, right? It's based on human wisdom. Well, human wisdom will always have an element of it that has rationality to it. Has to have rationality to it. So therefore, as rabbinic law, the institution of it will be based on rationality. Now, often it may mimic the biblical law, and therefore it will conform to those parameters. But even when it does so, it will do so with some kind of reasoning. And that's why when it comes to rabbinic law over here, which is now validating legal documents. There's no such thing as a biblical law for that. The rabbis came and said that you can validate legal documentation, right?
Mhm.
There's no such law in Torah. It's only one of 613 commandments, right? So it's a rabbinic law to begin with. So therefore, the parameter of that law is not based on the dictate of the verse. It's based on their on their parameters that they set. And therefore, they said a child who was aware that this is their father's signature when they were young and were disqualified then to testify, but when they become older and mature, or of age, they could testify. Got it?
Got it.
So another example, I remember when so-and-so was married, they performed the customs performed for a virgin, since most women marry when virgins, and the ksuba is a rabbinic institution.
Okay.
Right. In other words, you don't have to marry to being a virgin, right? And the ksuba that's for a virgin, or the customs that would be done, they do for virgins back in the day. Certain different customs they would do someone who's a virgin versus not a virgin. Right? This place is a base of pras, or ritual impurity associated with such a place of rabbinic safeguard. Base of pras is a field that there's an uncertainty if there was a corpse buried there.
Hmm.
So biblical law that is cut and dry, black and white, you would not, it's a doubt. So in such an instance, it would be a pure field. Rabbinic law comes and says, no, it becomes impure, right? But only rabbinically. So now if you're giving testimony on this as a child, that I know that this was
There's a body here.
that there no
Oh,
doubt of a
there's
body,
doubt of a body.
doubt of a body, right? So that testimony would be accepted. Why? Because it's a rabbinic issue.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the base of pras is that there is a body that was buried there, but in a specific place, but it was plowed over, and it could be that the bones were strewn throughout the field. So that's the doubt. The doubt is
So there's a body there.
there
Or
is a
there was
body.
a body.
There was a body in a specific place. And you knew where the specific that becomes impure biblically. But when it's strewn, when it possibly could be strewn throughout the field because of plowing, and maybe some bones were picked up by it, and there's a doubt, that's rabbinic already.
Yeah.
So then you could give testimony for that. In other words, when you were a child and became adult. We would proceed until the point of the Shabbos, because the restriction of Shabbos limits is until 2,000 cubits is a rabbinic restriction. So if a child is going to say now who became mature, say, oh, I know that this is a Sabbath limit, because when I was a child, this is how far we would go, right? So now he gives that testimony as an adult, that would be accepted. So-and-so would leave school to immerse himself in the mikvah and eat truma in the evening, or he would receive a portion of truma with us. So here, as a child, he would leave to immerse. So he knows it's a schoolmate, right? And he went to the mikvah. Why? Because he was a Kohen.
Yeah.
And a Kohen could only eat truma pure. And he went to, because he was going to eat truma that evening. So therefore he went to the mikvah. This child Kohen.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. I don't know if it's a child Kohen. It could be an adult.
Is this about saying someone is eligible to eat truma? Like the child is saying,
No,
like so and so
this
goes
is-
to the mikvah, so
yeah.
he can eat truma.
So he's giving testimony about
Yeah.
this person that he is a Kohen,
Yeah.
right? How does he know he's a Kohen?
Because he went to the mikvah.
Because he went to the mikvah. Because when he was in school with him, he went to the mikvah, right? When you saw that, you were a child, and therefore you're disqualified. But this is a rabbinic issue. Okay, my father told me this family is acceptable, this family is not acceptable. In other words, where two families are from the same priestly clan, rumored that one was acceptable, one wasn't. So we can rely on the statements of the child to attain majority to determine which is acceptable and which is not. Because this is what his
Acceptable in
father
what
taught him.
sense?
Being a kohen.
Okay.
In other words, they don't have proof themselves,
Mhm.
right? So the proof is being brought that they're a kohen by
'Cause
the
my
fact the
father said
father
this.
said this to me when I was
Yeah.
a child, right? I'm not clear why that's rabbinic. I guess to prove. I'm not clear. Because for the to be a kohen or not, I mean, to be able to eat from. Okay, I'm not clear. Okay, next, we ate from the fruit barrel brought by the brothers of so and so to inform others that their brother so and so married a woman that was not appropriate for him. What does that mean? So this is about a kohen, right? All of these latter 4 points involve establishing a person as a priest, kohen, to enable him to partake of truma that is separated at present because of rabbinic decree or to prevent him from partaking of it. Okay, so yeah, this is all rabbinic now because it's about truma, and truma now is only of rabbinic nature. It's not biblical. It's only biblical in the times when most of the Jewish people are living in the land of Israel with the Beis Hamikdash. So in times of Mashiach,
So now it's rabbinic because
because
we're in exile.
because we're in exile.
Okay.
Because we're in exile. So it's all that's why it's rabbinic. Okay, now that makes sense.
Do we know what
Clear.
truma? We don't have truma today.
Hmm?
We don't have truma today.
Yeah, you have to take. That's why you have to be careful with food from Israel.
Yeah.
That Truma and Meiser was taken from it.
Oh, that's like the offering that you'd give to the Cohen.
Truma is to the Kohen, Meiser is to the Levi.
That would first go to the Cohen. Wouldn't it?
No,
No? Oh, I thought it was you gave the Cohen something and then there was like a piece of the Cohen.
no, the opposite.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, 4. The lenience in granting all of these situations to accept the testimony of a person who reached maturity with regard to what he knew when he was a minor is not granted to a non-Jew or a servant witness such matters and such testimony after he converted and was freed. In other words, he knew this as a non-Jew or as a servant, and then he became a Jew.
Not
Right.
eligible.
So then he won't be eligible. In other words, this leniency was given, right, for whatever reason. Okay, 5. If before becoming a robber, a person knew of evidence concerning a colleague, so he's not yet a
Not yet a
robber,
robber.
right? So therefore, but he has evidence on someone and recorded that evidence in a legal document and then became a robber. He cannot testify with regard to his signature. So now it's a document. So he can't testify that he actually wrote that document. Right? If ours is signature, the legal document was validated in court before he became a robber, the legal document is acceptable. Right? So now it's been proven that it is his signature. Right? By others. So then it validates the document, and the document can be used now as as a binding document in court. Okay. Similarly, if a witness becomes a person's son-in-law, he may not testify concerning his signature on a legal document involving his father-in-law. Others, however, may testify concerning the son-in-law's signature. even though the document was not validated by the court until after the witness becomes a person's son-in-law. It is acceptable. It's only valid by
I
the
don't
court.
get this one.
Yeah, I'm trying to also understand it. Disqualification of witness. So someone who became a robber, so he's suspect of forging a document. Therefore, he cannot
Say this is my signature.
right, he can't say that. Okay. But here we're not talking about that. Here we're talking about someone, married and married into the family, right? So the witness became the person's son-in-law. So he became a son-in-law over here to him. So he can't testify concerning the signature of a legal document concerning his father-in-law. He can't do that. Right? He can't testify now. Others, however, may testify concerning the son-in-law's signatures. Others, who's the others? Others, meaning non-relatives. No, even though the document is not validated by the court until after the witness became the person's son-in-law. So he testified before.
But now it's not valid because he's a son-in-law.
No, but it was only validated in the court, but it was testified before, even though the document is not validated by the court until it became it's accepted.
So just saying others can validate the son-in-law or others can validate the father-in-law's signature when the son-in-law can't. That's the impression I get.
Yeah. 1 second.
Oh, but it's about a document between the two.
I'm not clear. Sorry. Not clear. Okay, next. When a legal document has only two witnesses signed upon it, and they are related to each other, or one of them is qualified as a transgression, even if the document was transferred in the presence of acceptable witnesses, it's worthless, like a shard, because of the invalid signatures inside it. Right? Because the people who saw that it was passed on, they don't know that the document is a valid document. They just know that it was passed on. So they're not really a witness. They're only a witness that it was given to someone, but they're not a witness to what the document states.
What was on it? Yeah.
Right. So therefore, the people who validate the document that it's proper, what's there stated, are invalid witnesses because they're related to each other.
Mhm.
Following rule applies when a person composes one legal document, including testimony that he is granting all of his property to two people, and the witnesses of documents are related to one of the recipients of the present, but not related to the other. The document is not acceptable because it is one statement of testimony. So it's not good because it's one statement that's being said, right?
Mhm.
That I'm giving to these two people. I'm the witness. So the witness here, these are two people are gonna get are getting a benefit, right? And here's two witnesses, right? One of them is related.
It
So
invalidates the whole thing.
right, so then he's related, so therefore he can't testify, right? But not only does he not get, right, from the document, but he doesn't, even though they're not related,
Yeah,
because it's one document. Okay, right? One statement here. If, however, he writes one legal document that he is giving this and this courtyard to Reuven, and then in this field to Shimon, so he's separating in the one document the distinction between them. The witness is related to one, but not to the other. The present given to the recipient to whom the witness is not related is binding. So that part of the document is okay. Even though two statements are included in one legal document,
yeah,
they are considered as separate testimonies. That's why? Because this is all of rabbinic nature, right? So there's a leniency here. There's a rationale,
yeah,
right? There's a rationality over here that you can employ, right? Not a black and white, idea, and therefore, it would be a legal document for the one who doesn't have the witnesses as a relative. To what can this matter be compared to a person who says, serve as a witness that I gave Reuven this and this, that I gave Shimon this and this, and that I borrowed such and such from Levi. Although they are all included in the same legal document, and there's only one person transferring the property, they're considered as three distinct statements.
wow.
Okay, amazing.
All right.
All right, thank you.